Welcome back, family. Welcome to the Reiki Healing Hope community, a place to relax, be yourself, and be open to life as it is, and to be surrounded by a community who wants to see you blossom. I am Jessica, a Reiki master and intuitive, and today we have a special healing session. It is a psychosomatic healing. So before I get started in doing the healing and even explaining what in the world is that, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel, to like and to comment, but most importantly to comment, because I love to hear what you're up to. And you know how I feel. I only ask if you do choose to comment, you comment for the highest vibrational good only, just to keep this a safe community that we all love coming back to. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've laid out a variety of stones, and if you resonate towards any certain stone, feel comfort in knowing that maybe that's something that you need to work on today. The stones we have is opalite, petrified wood, black kyanite, rose quartz, calcite, and black tourmaline. The reason why it's yellow calcite, and the reason why I pause is because I always want to call calcite citrine, and it's not. Citrine is for the solar plexus. It's a deeper orange, and this looks orange to me, but really it's a yellow calcite, which is for the solar plexus. So I just had to pause, like I haven't had this stone for a while. So I'm gonna give you just a brief explanation, and then we're gonna get started in the healing portion of it. So while I'm explaining, I'm going to be clearing out your aura and just setting the perfect environment for us to go deeply into this healing session. So a psychosomatic illnesses, conditions, what it simply means, if you don't already know, you may already know. What it simply means is that it is an illness or condition that stems from emotional and or mental stress. So the origins of this condition comes from perhaps a PTSD experience, perhaps a long-term chronic issue that you've had to face, trauma, things like that. And really what it is, what's happening is, actually, before I even get to what's happening, let me give you some examples. So an example would be a headache. Could be an example. You ever hear somebody saying like, oh my gosh, you're stressing me out, you're giving me a headache. Or if you've ever been around a difficult person, you're like, oh man, they drain your energy, they give you a headache. Or the more serious condition of a headache would be a migraine. And so those are commonly accepted psychosomatic illnesses and disorders. Another would be the long-term physical effects of anxiety. So if your body is at a heightened state of the fight or flight hormone, there are going to be some long-term repercussions. For example, hyperthyroidism, where your thyroid is working so much, it's pushing everything to work faster. Certain conditions will start to pop up because the thyroid isn't balanced. And of course, there are many routes into healing that, but that's another example in which the long-term effects of anxiety can impact you, or a certain condition. When I was reading about this, the example they gave was a little girl, and it's important to note that majority of these psychosomatic things will show up in childhood, and then they're just reinforced throughout life. So a little girl has a parent who needs to take them to school, but they know that their parent is always late. So they feel like they always have to keep track of time. So from a very young age, this little girl who has no, control over, okay, let me drive myself, let me feels in their internal self that they have to be hyper aware even though they have no control. So being in that state and having that intention at the same time causes an hyperactive motor functions, hyperactive internal endocrine, things like that going on. So the long-term effects of that could be something like the example I just gave, which was hyperthyroidism. So that would be kind of the energetic perspective of what's going on top of all of the medical perspectives. For example, if a person has a predisposition to a genetic issue, things like that, those are also things that happen. Let me go ahead and say that there are some illnesses that happen, some conditions that happen that could be energetically optional. And there are other conditions that happen that when the soul enters the body, it knows that this condition happens in order for that energetic being to have its higher or highest experience. So knowing the difference really depends on the individual making that clarity. But if you could look kind of overhead in a general understanding of it, what it is that it's a condition that perhaps the soul understands that it can come into contact with, but it's a condition that could be at the same time reversible, that could be healed, that if there was a different environment or different kind of system of support for that individual, that this condition didn't necessarily have to rise. Unlike various genetic conditions, strong predispositions, or missing certain things like missing chromosomes or too many chromosomes or things like that. So that's essentially the difference. And the reason why I want to say that is because as a healer, I always advise people that if you are lucky enough to have healthcare, because not everybody does, you utilize all those services you have. Whether you want to do natural, whether you want to do traditional, whether you want to do talk, whether you need some combination, fitness or whatever it is that you like, utilize that. Utilize a couple of them at a time, because this journey is really not about some external person like me healing you. This journey that we're all experiencing is about us getting to a place where we're healing ourselves. So these conditions will come up. So you might need to seek a energy therapist. You might need to seek a mental health therapist. You might need to seek a conventional doctor. And bringing all that information together, you then decide what your path is. So to speak just a little bit more before we jump into the healing. The treatments for psychosomatic illnesses and conditions, they vary from person to person. Psychosomatic is more of like a term or umbrella. That means, the illness or the condition that stems from emotional or mental stressors, mental issues. So what it's essentially saying is that the mind is so strong that it can create a normed environment, an environment of homeostasis within the body that is not for its higher vibrational good. So to give you the example with the little girl again, here it is, she's a little girl. She has to experience this, and then this is reinforced over life. So as she grows into an adult, this is the norm. This is what her body naturally thinks is normal. So having this heightened sense of kind of all of these functions, instead of feeling kind of calm and safe supported, you're going to overwork your various organs. You're going to overwork other aspects of your body as well. So it's super important that we understand the mind. Now, the reason why I bring up you need to have access and you need to have support, if you can, to multiple things, because there are situations in which a person is healed just through their mind, just through their physical body. That happens. But what I was explaining was this is a journey in which we need to heal ourselves. And when you're healing yourselves, it's going to take some time to get there. So you might need some support. So you might be all natural and you only want to do that. But you might need some support from conventional medicine because your body might be in a chemical state in which you need a strong medication to really break it out of that. Now, you may not want to use long-term use, and you also may not want to overload your body with chemical medications all the time. That when you do use these conventional medicine medications, that it's for these extreme cases. I would also say when you're going to heal this, you go and you find the root, and exposing the root means you might need several things. You might need an energy healer. You might need a physical therapist. You might really need to develop a creative passion that helps you kind of unravel or understand what's going on in X, Y, Z. And that's why it's multifaceted. So I said all of that to say that there are a lot of conditions that really stem from this. And upon my kind of meditation and deep reflection yesterday, I started to think about what are people right now having the greatest issue with? And I think number one, people are having the greatest issue with stress, feeling stressed. And it varies from person to person, whatever their trigger is, their environment, whether it's a genetic thing, whether it's something learned, whether, whatever it is, stress. But more than just the blanket stress, what is it? I think that we're at a time in history where we have access. Maybe not everyone can get the access, but in human history, we have a greater understanding of certain illnesses, treatments, and for example, if you're a person with a lot of money, you perhaps have the greatest access to these various treatment options. But yet, in the most developed of countries, you still see people with heightened states of anxiety, heightened states of depression, where these developed places where food is prevalent, but then food now, the overconsumption of food due to emotional eating or just the quality of food itself, which is not feeding what your body needs to run its actual processes. It's more about just kind of like the taste and a short-term goal satisfaction from the taste of certain foods. It made me think that it's like, wow, that's really interesting. We have all this access, and let me say, it's not everyone. And even in developed places, there are still people who are fighting for access for these things. So just to be mindful of that. But then on top of that part, you have this global connection, me and you, and it's less about the physical meeting somebody and more about expanding. Our community is people all over the world, something that we probably wouldn't have outside of this kind of digital space. But then what do you see on, this? You see people who are bullies, you see people who are trolls, you see people who will say things online that they won't necessarily say in person. And so I said that to say that looking at all of these things, we're in a mental and or emotional state of bondage where people can literally make themselves so afraid, petrified wood, so afraid to move forward that they develop these illnesses and these conditions. And so I'll just be 100% transparent. 3 years ago, I developed an autoimmune condition that I'd never heard of before. It's called cholinergic urticaria, and I became extremely sensitive to heat. Now, already being a practitioner, being a long-term spiritual person, being an intuitive and things like that, I'm a really sensitive person in general. But this sensitivity of heat, which means my body has an allergic reaction when I'm exposed to a large part of heat. That's why I'm always talking about working out and fitness and things like that, because I'm always trying to push my body to the next level, to be like, oh no, y'all not about to get me, I'm about to get over on this. But what I'm trying to say is that that condition started after I had a very psychosomatic issue where I had very, very, very close friends, like that they were, my heart, they were my family, treat me very, very mean. And if any person kind of like on the street would treat me mean, I would just be like, whatever. But the fact that these people were so important to me because I had spent so many years enabling that relationship, because I was looking to them for something that I wasn't able to get growing up, I felt deeply crushed, and I started to be self-deprecating. I was like, is that the right word? Yes. I started to not trust myself. I even said it a couple of times. I can't trust myself, because it was like, if you understand the term of gaslighting, I was doing nothing wrong, but I valued their feelings and their opinion and how they were reacting more than I valued my own rational state. So then I put my body in a new state of homeostasis in which that was the norm, and I reinforced that behavior for like a year or two. It was actually the creation of this channel, when I was on that healing journey of, back up, that I realized all of these things that I had experienced before. And because of that, it created this disorder. So now that I'm on the other side and I can see things, and I've gone the natural route and I've gone the conventional route, I kind of see things from a certain perspective of healing itself is something that you do each and every day by every step you've taken, every word you say, and how you treat yourself. I guarantee you I will never be in that situation again. And it's not because I don't love people or love on people or have people close to me, but it was a healing experience. No matter how uncomfortable it was a healing experience for me to understand, hey, homegirl, your mind is so strong that when you reverse that energy inward, you can hurt yourself. So now you got to do the work to clear yourself, and now you get to have a whole community of people that you are helping to facilitate an experience as they heal themselves too. So this is long-winded to say, let's go ahead and jump into the healing. Thank you for staying this long. If you fast forwarded, I ain't mad at you. So I'm going to go ahead and say a prayer. And do I have your permission to say a prayer? Okay. Dear Mother, Father, God, and all for the highest good, please connect us to the Reiki Masters, the Ascended Masters, Master Jesus, Master Buddha, Master Katumi, Oshun, Mawu, Waitara, all the Taras, and all those here for our highest vibrational good. Please connect us to our ancestors, our spirit guides, spirit animals, archangels, and all here to lift our energy up and heal us out of these psychosomatic illnesses, conditions, and disorders. Please root us down in our individual healing practice and put on our energy, our chakras, and on our shoulders the ultimate power that we can heal ourselves and to use the experience, no matter what it is around us, to jettison us forward in our healing path for the highest vibrational good, to heal ourselves, to be in a state of satisfaction, happiness, and to help others as we go along the way. And I say all of this in the name of I am. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Okay. Now, if you are connected with the yellow calcite, perhaps, and you don't have to force yourself to believe you have a disorder if you don't, but perhaps your issue, illness, condition, or state of mind, homeostasis in your body stems from a confidence related issue. And we've really kind of unconsciously been working on confidence this week. So that might be one of those reasons you're drawn to that. And also, it can be for atypical reasons too. You might want to bring confidence into your throat to speak up, or to your third eye to see that vision. So don't feel that you're only limited to this. For the rose quartz, it might have to do with more of an emotional, more of conditions of love. Whether you do not feel enough to be loved by yourself, by others, a hurt of love, a absence of love, or maybe perhaps a twisted love. Black kyanite, if you've been resonating to this throughout the video, it might be an indication of deep soul work. That could be something that's karmic, and it could be something that there's a lot of kind of issues going on. But really what it is a soul understanding. You're getting to a place in your soul where you want to get past it, and you are being asked from an energetic and from the highest level possible, do you give yourself permission to heal? So you could want to heal all you want every day now, but going into your soul and making that decision as well is super duper duper important. Petrified wood, just from what it sounds like, it can be grounding, it can be healing, but it could represent that state of being so afraid. It might stem from a condition of something. It might stem from feeling like I did this one thing, or I've done these things that I just can't get over. And because I can't get over it, I'm slowing down. I'm too afraid to move forward and to advocate for myself because someone's going to find out, or, I just don't feel enough. Opalite is something about trusting. It's for that highest chakra, trusting that crown chakra, trusting your connection to your higher self and strengthening that. So that could be the relationship with the universe, source, creator, God, energy. It could be your connection to your highest self. You might have too much going on, so you don't know what to listen to. And so this is really talking about kind of dialing down and making a decision, especially during Mercury in retrograde, of, okay, this is how I feel, and I'm going to give myself permission to change my mind. But just this is how I feel right now. I'm going to go with this and heal. And of course, black tourmaline, one of my favorites of all times, is one of the strongest protection stones, grounding, roots. This might indicate that you had certain basic conditions that were not met. So throughout your life, you might have struggled with not having enough money, or not feeling protected safety wise. You may have had adequate housing, but emotionally and mentally you did not feel protected safety wise. You felt very vulnerable, and you might be at a state where you can't even understand, or you may have felt like you can't trust your natural disposition towards things and people, because what your natural state might be a state that reinforces kind of all of the toxic experiences. And you can of course have a combination of all these things. Look, we all got issues, okay? So what I'm gonna have you do, I know this is a long session, but what I'm gonna have you do is I want you to breathe in. Okay, I'm enjoying this flapping like a bird energy, but what I want you to do is I want you to breathe in, okay? Filling up in your lungs, in your chest, rooting in your sit bone. If you're lying back, if you're standing up, if you're at work and you're like, girl, I just need a break, just breathing in there. And now we're going to take your soul, okay, in the safest way. You are still very much so connected. I want you to just, from a memory sense, hover above your body, so that can keep the soul in the body. It just depends on how a person likes to do this, but the memory, you're hovering above so you can look at things in the past. And the reason why I have you hover above is because I don't want you to be connected emotionally. I don't want you to be connected mentally. I don't want you to feel any of these things. I want you as best as you can, and only if you feel safe. If you don't feel safe, you don't have to do it. But as best as you can, be as objective as you can as you look at these experiences. And so as I've been describing these psychosomatic healings, and I want you to do this for one thing. You might have a lot of things, and you can just rewind the video and just do this as many times as you like, but let's just keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. So take that energy, your spirit, your memory, and look at your one condition, okay? And I want you to look at yourself as if that was someone else. And I want you to just witness the conditions happening externally, not what's happening internally to that person, but externally. What do you notice? What are the surroundings? Who are the people? What are the conditions? What is that person's mental and emotional state? What have they been showing in their life up until that moment that might be a precursor, indication, or a kind of setting of the foundation for that condition? Now, take a step back, okay? Breathe in. You're heavily protected, okay? I want you to go back to the first time that this has happened. Even if it was really small. And from there, look at the environment. Look at this person before these conditions, okay? Look at their state. More than likely, they were probably happy or lighter or something like that. And then see how various factors started to create an environment in which that person started to react in a state of dis-ease. Now, you're looking at it, you see it happening, unfolding. Remember, be detached emotionally and mentally. You're just being as objective as possible. Now, I want you to create an alternate universe in which at that moment of inception that this condition was starting to really just show itself, I want you to create an alternate universe in which you were able, that person that you're objectively looking at, was able to make different decisions. Meaning, I've always had stage fright, and so my whole life I've had stage fright, and this is where it started, and this is where it kept on going. But you're creating an alternate universe where you're saying, well, even though I had stage fright, instead of trying to do so much, I just did one thing and I mastered that. And that gave me a little bit more confidence to do another thing. Instead of this whole thing that you've already lived out, create an alternate reality. Now, I want you to see how that person, which is yourself, you're objectively looking at how their life would be different, how their health would be different. Now, the conditions can be the same. There can still be trauma that happened, though I'm not saying that I want you to experience that, but there might still be challenges that happen. And see yourself getting through those challenges, no matter what they were, seeing yourself on the other side, like, look, I used what I had and I got to the other side. Create that new path. Now, that person, that resilient person, what does their life look like now? Now, taking your memory, connect and start to connect stronger with this alternate reality than what this reality was. Because what we're doing is we're uprooting the foundation of that psychosomatic condition, and we're aligning you better with where you actually want to be. Now just take 3 deep breaths here, breathing in this new reality, this, hey, no matter what happened, I found my way to the other side. A couple more breaths. Okay, final breath. That is the real you. That's who you were supposed to be. This condition was optional, and you can get to the other side. Now, you're going to experience a very heightened state of sensitivity, so listen and trust so you can reinforce this current state. So if it says, I need to go see a doctor, or I need to go do this, or I need to go express X, Y, and Z, listen to it and go do it. and really live in the way of this alternate reality as opposed to this thing that wasn't working. Take a couple more breaths here. Now, breathing your air in, I want you to connect to the universe, source, God, the energy, the connection all around us, and feel your heart expand. Feel your shoulders melt away from your ears. Feel the energy flowing up and down your body of wisdom, as well as manifesting in the physical of having all your needs met. Now, I want you to see the path in front of you, and I want you to make a decision. No matter what challenges come your way, that you are going to go ahead and Mario Brothers hop over them. That if you slip and fumble, you will find your way to the other side, and you are no longer going to take it out on yourself. You are no longer going to allow the body to be in a state that no longer serves your highest vibrational good. Amen. So as you continue to move through here, you have to continue to reinforce this. So I encourage you, this is a really long session today, but I encourage you to replay certain parts of this over and over again. If you need help with healing anything, any one issue, or you're going to go and look at the other issues as well. You're just like a toddler learning to walk. You're reinforcing and reinforcing and reinforcing, and that's how you get there. So you did a fantastic job, family. I'm so proud of you. If you learned something new, go ahead and comment about that experience. Let me know if anything came up during this session. I always want to be respectful and to be to put you in a safe space. So as you know, these are all optional. You do not have to do them if you do not feel safe to do them. I want to give you that choice as you go on the journey. For those who did continue to do the exercise and did the exercise, let me know what's going on, what came up for you, what insights came up for you. There's no wrong answers. It can be long-winded. It can be just, an emoji. I just love to hear what's going on with you and going, on in the energy, because it's a journey, and, I really appreciate being a part of your journey. So I'm going to close you out. I'm going to go ahead and seal you with the sign of the infinity, that all things continue to go, that you will always find your way to the opposite side, and that infinite love builds within you, and you have so much more control and power than you probably have been exposed or taught. So just remember that. So until next time, family, if no one said it to you, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I love you, but you better be saying it to yourself, and take care of yourself. Bye. If you want to keep watching, click on the box